So good morning again. Good morning, good morning. ASU. I have to say that. I'm so proud of my team. So yes, so we're in the Big 12. So we're going, I think Charles told me we're going to the Fiesta Bowl. Yes, yes. So I'm excited. So anyway, all right. So let's get back to the light. So yes, we're going to talk about the light this morning, and the light of God is the only presence and the only power. Yes, it is. And guess what? It all dwells within you. So guess what? You're all little light bulbs. You get to light up the world. And I was thinking about that this morning, that, one of my favorite memories is my dad and my mom would pack my brothers and I up. Of course, I'm the oldest, or the experimental child, as I always like to refer to. And they'd pack us in the back of our Dodge 440. And they had push buttons back then. And we'd get in the back seat and with all our blankets and our pillows, and we'd drive around the neighborhoods and look at all the Santa lights. And it was really cool, especially there was this one house that was on this particular street, and you actually had to park your car and walk to it because it was so animated. And what we found out in its history was the gentleman that owned the house was actually part of Disney. Yeah, so he was able to do all the really fun animation, and it was just a really cool thing. And I looked forward to that every year. And it's funny because as an adult, I make my husband do the same thing. We go out and we look. In fact, I don't know how many of you were able to catch the Tubac Luminaria Festival this weekend. It was wonderful. It was really cool. There's all kinds of lights and things in the Tubac village. And so we come to the point of our lives where we are celebrating the light. What does it mean? I mean, at Christmas, as I said last week, we're celebrating, Christmas, which is really the Mass of Christ, which is the celebration of the light coming into the world. And then, of course, we have the winter solstice, which is another celebration that is bringing light into the world. It's like all of a sudden the darkness is going away, and the longest day of the year is what's celebrated in the darkness. But yet, there is emerging the light. I don't know how many of you got to, if you haven't caught it already, please do. The Notre Dame rededication made me cry. You want to see darkness and light? It's a wonderful example. Here is this beautiful church that was built a few thousand years ago, or 100 years ago, and it was all dark and gray. And they said that it was a blessing that the fire happened because they didn't know how they were going to come up with the money to finish it. It cost them $750, was it billion or million? Million? Yeah, billion, okay. To redo this whole thing. And so they have this beautiful dedication. And I'm looking at this dedication, and I'm looking at all this beautiful light. And yes, the light has come back. And I also think of this, being a religious scientist and a minister, that the light is actually coming back for all of us. Looking at how God is in each one of our lives. I feel that sometimes we have been asleep, for the last, few years, that God hasn't really been around. Even though we acknowledge it here, it's like it's been asleep. And all of a sudden, I watched the bishop tap the doors with his staff, and it opened. And I thought, that's what's happening right now for all of us, is we are opening to the light. And it's not just this special time of Christmas, it's right here and right now, being religious scientists, opening to what we know as love and what we know as, the existence of things ever expanding. You know, we talk about light a lot. You know, it's like some of us will sign light and love or love and light. And what does that really mean? Love is where we are and where God is at all times. The light is the wisdom and the love as well. It's like we each open a window and we allow the light in when we are practicing the presence of God. You know, God is our strength, and the light it radiates hope. Light is one of the most universal and fundamental symbols. It is the spiritual and the divine. It is illumination and intelligence. Think about that. Light is intelligence? Light is the source of goodness and the ultimate reality. It accompanies transcendence and the nirvana of the Buddhist doctrine. Remember, he sat under a Bodhi tree waiting for the light, when actually he knew he was the light. And what happened is that God's presence entered within him, and he was able to give it to the world. The same applies to the Christ and the Christ consciousness that we all practice. What is the Christ consciousness? It's we are that divine light. We recognize the love that we are, that we come into the world and we share. That's what we are. It doesn't have to be this, as I put it last week, holy, holy. It's this sacred love that each of us get to pass to the other. Christmas is a time of light because it carries a deep metaphysical meaning, symbolizing Jesus the Christ. And I say the Christ because Christ was not his last name. He was the light of the world. And when he came into the world at the time that he did, he signified hope, guidance, and dispelled the darkness. Essentially, bringing to humanity that you and I are each a point of light in the world. It wasn't just about him. It was him being the great example of shining that light and also teaching us, as does every single prophet in a faith tradition. It teaches this is how we are. This is how we can be with each other, a light of the world. It's not just Jesus or Muhammad or Buddha. Y'all are the light yourself. So what is the difference between the presence of God and the power of God? God's power is pertaining to authority and ability. God's presence is its closeness. It's always close. It's a presence that can never be separate from, even though we try our darndest to separate ourselves from God. And how do we do that? Because we think of negativity. Oh, well, this isn't going to work out this way, or I'm always going to be this way. And really? So what you're doing is you're putting a wedge between your highest good and that negative thing. You're saying, you know what, I'm closing the door on the light. I'm not going to let it in. But yet, if you crack the door or the window just a little bit, that light comes in and it will shine. And you know, light has this funny thing of showing us where to go. How many of us have used a flashlight in the dark, right? Think of God as a flashlight. When you get into those dark places, you reach for a flashlight. I know I have one on my phone I use quite often. But I shine the light, and it leads me to where I really want to go. And so when we allow that God presence in, what happens is we let the light in, and then God says, you know what? You know you were thinking about doing this over here? Why don't you do this over here? And then when we say, no, I like this better decision over here. And then all of a sudden all these blocks come up. And we're thinking, why is everything being blocked? I want to go this way, but yet God's kind of doing, this thing, in a gentle, loving way. And yet we turn it around and we look at the darkness. Well, everything's against us. Everything's against me. Nothing's going my way. Have you ever thought that it is going your way? Because the light is being shown in a different way. So what it is we just allow ourselves to be free and open to that beautiful light. What would it look like to quit resisting, to quit doing what we do and we dig our heels in and we say, no, 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 no? What would happen if we just said, okay, whatever. I'm just going to allow anything and everything to happen. So how, in these moments of where we're saying, okay, fine, I give up, I surrender, I'll go that way. But how, for ourselves, do we really know the presence of God is activated in our life? I'll give you a little bit of a list and a little bit of a hint. Some people may see visions or hear God's voice. And what I mean by visions is all of a sudden you see what you couldn't see before. Others may not see or hear anything but experience feelings of peace and joy that are beyond words. It's like you make this decision and you go, yeah, that's what I'm supposed to do. Or you may experience the presence of God through a song or scripture, or the Spirit brings to mind anything. Some kind of song. It's like Sharon was pointing out that what Michael just sang, had a deep meaning for her. Very deep meaning. And that is part of our God presence, our God light that's activated. It may be through an encounter with a friend or even a stranger. You're in the store and you're thinking about something, and then all of a sudden maybe you reach in your wallet and you're like, oh, I'm 50 cents short. And then all of a sudden somebody gives you 50 cents, right? Or maybe you're looking for a book and it literally falls off the shelf, right? That's God in action. That is God's light. We say, just as one candle can light many others without diminishing its light, God's light within us can inspire and encourage others. When we are the light, when we have a positive attitude about what is going to happen in our life, we are sharing that light. But yes, I get the fact that there are dark places, and I just want to take a moment and talk about that little bit of darkness. And what happens is darkness is often used to convey negativity, evil, death, or even the unknown. Don't you love the unknown? Where we say, well, I'm not real sure about what's going to happen, so I'm just going to stay where I'm at. I'm just going to be comfortable and everything's going to be great. Because we haven't seen the light yet. So it's safer to be in the dark. Maybe not. Reverend Martin Luther King Jr. said, darkness cannot drive out darkness. Only light can do that. Hate cannot drive out hate. Only love can do that. And Agmandino said, I will love the light, for it shows me the way. Yet I will endure the darkness, for it shows me the stars. I thought about that. Have we, the wonderful thing about living in Arizona that I, since moving from California is, y'all got a lot of stars. I mean, it's amazing. I can sit out in my backyard and it's just like these little pinpricks of light every single night. And I think, wow, how was I not noticing the light that comes through this covering of darkness? So many times, during this season, we go through our seasons of, and I'm going to say grief, trauma, aftermath of traumas we've had during the year, depression, loneliness, sadness, heartbreak. And we say, you know what? I'm not going to do Christmas this year. I'm not going to celebrate. There's nothing really to celebrate. And then we crawl back in our hole and we think, okay, in a few weeks it'll all be over. And then we celebrate the new year and we go, oh, I hope, the next year is better than this year was. Really? So how do we get through that? How do we get through that dark period in our life? Well, Ernest Holmes said we have within us a power that is greater than anything we shall ever contact in the outer, a power that can overcome every obstacle in our life and set us safe, satisfied and at peace, healed and prosperous in a new light and a new life. We have choice. Yes, we can go behind the curtain and sit there, or we can choose to be in the world. And how do we do that? Well, the first thing is to reach out for support. And I understand that sometimes is very hard to do because we don't want to admit that we have an issue or we have, a problem. So we want to stay, I'll deal with this myself. But have you ever thought that if you talk to somebody, maybe you might get a different perspective on whatever's going on? Self-care practices, where you do stuff like exercise or healthy eating or whatever it is, but you look into a healthier state of being. You identify your passions. I liked this one. Where you engage in activities of joy and fulfillment. The stuff you like to do, hobbies. Remember those things that we used to do? And most of all, we practice gratitude. Because even in the dark places, gratitude helps bring in the light. What it does is it allows us to say, you know what, thank you, God. It sucks right now, but I really thank you for what I'm experiencing. What is mine to know about it? What is mine to see? What is the light that you are bringing to me to know? And so what happens then is when we start allowing that gratitude in, we're the light. All of a sudden we start being the light. And then somebody comes along and they're having a, kind of a bad day and we say, you know what, let's look at this. Guess what you just did? You just passed your light on. So to be the light is to foster peace and to show others the joy that is present. It also means that you try to protect your flame from being blown out so that you can be the light and so that the light remains in all truth, beauty, and goodness. What does that look like when we reach out and we pass a smile along? How many of us go into the grocery stores or go shopping or whatever it is and you say, good morning or have a nice day, instead of like, thank you, and you walk on? What would it be like if we passed that smile along and we said, thank you for helping me, or thank you and I hope you have a wonderful day? That's passing the light. In concrete reality, being the light may be loving someone despite their flaws. It may mean helping people through situations they do not know how to overcome. It could be empowering others to overcome whatever they are facing, and we as well. Because whatever that person has brought is something maybe we should look at ourselves. What is the light being shown on? What are we to look at? And when we sit with them, sometimes we hear ourselves. And then that, as we say, the light goes on. We say, oh, that's what I'm supposed to see. And that's what I meant by sometimes when we meet with other people, what happens is they allow us to see what's really going on in the light. The light is a beautiful thing to be in. The light is so beautiful when we turn it on. And each of us can turn that light on whenever we want to. And so what I what I invite you this week to do is take a moment and look at the lights. Tucson is so beautiful with all the lights on. Look at the hills and just sit and imagine how peaceful this world can be. That we live in the light, that we can love in the light. And so I leave you with this morning, and I'm sure some of you know this. The light of God surrounds you. The love of God enfolds you. The power of God protects you. The presence of God watches over you. And wherever you are, God is. Namaste. I love you, and so it is. Amen.